Hello guys! Welcome back to EEC's YouTube channel with me, Marco Sialagan as the General Chief of EEC 2024 period. In this video, we are gonna talk about the difference between for example and such as. Without any further ado, let's get started! For example and such as are two phrases commonly used to say as an example. Although they have the same function, to mention an example, it turns out that they are used differently in sentences. Want to know the difference between for example and such as? How to use both phrases in a sentence? Here is a complete explanation for all of you. First rule, when for example is followed by noun, it is used to mention various kind of objects that is fall into one category. After for example, the objects can be mentioned directly or it can also be given additional explanation. Example for the first rule, Hollywood Walk of Fame has been recording phenomenal public figures. For example, Tom Cruise, Christina Aguilera, Muhammad Ali, Simon Cowell, and etc. Tom Cruise, Christina Aguilera, Muhammad Ali, Simon Cowell are in one category, which is Hollywood public figures. Second rule, the phrase for example only mentioning just one example of an object that can represent the previous explanation. Example for this condition is, there are many things we could do to prevent global warming. For example, by reducing the paper usage. Third rule, the phrase for example can be used to start a sentence that is different from the sentence it explains. Example for this condition is, you've done too many faults to her. For example, by dumping her, cheating on her, not trying to become a good man, and so on. The fourth rule, for example, cannot separate clauses. The last rule of using for example is that for example cannot separate clauses. Unlike such as, for example cannot separate sentences that have one idea. Let's see the comparison. I will provide to you two sentences and I'll tell you which one is the right one. So, first sentence. We can buy any fruits, for example apples, pears, bananas, and grapes to visit grandma this evening. This is the wrong one. Meanwhile, the right sentences will be, we can buy any fruits to visit grandma this evening. For example, apples, pears, bananas, and grapes. Now you know about the usage of for example. Let's move to the rule of using such as. So, such as in English means like. The difference between such as and for example is actually not significant. For example can be used in formal and informal situations, while such as is mostly used in informal situations when you're talking to your friends, your colleagues, and etc. There are several rules for using such as that you must understand, and these rules are kind of the same thing as the for example. Here's the explanation. First rule, such as being followed by nouns. It can be used to name various objects in one category. Just like for example, such as can be used for various objects, but those that come from one category. Here's the example. People today like to waste their money for pointless things such as buying branded products, change the gadgets every time the newer version of the gadget is being released, and consume costly food that is actually could be bought for far more cheaper. Second rule, such as can be used to mention just one example of an object, which can represent the previous explanation. The second rule of using such as is to mention only one thing as an example. For example can actually be used to mention one thing, but its usage is different from such as. If the example mentioned is one, there is no need to include a comma before or after such as. Just mention the example directly. Here's the example. Cold countries such as Iceland and Norway have the best aurora boreal shows. Moving on to the third rules. Such as cannot be used to start a sentence. Such as is a conjunction word which is used to combine two clauses. Therefore, such as can only be used in the middle of a sentence between a dependent and independent clause. Such as cannot be used to start a sentence. For example, same as the previous one, I will give you two different sentences. And I will tell you which one is the right one. So the first sentence. There are many ways the government can do to reduce food in Jakarta, such as implementing better water management and protect wetlands. This is the wrong form. Meanwhile, to correct this, you can say, there are many ways the government can do to reduce flood in Jakarta, such as implementing better water management and protect the wetlands. Last but not least, such as can separate clauses. Although it cannot be used as a sentence opener, such as can be used to separate a sentence, especially for sentences that cannot use the word for example in them. To better understand what is meant by sentence that cannot use for example, here's a comparison. So the first sentence. Insects such as butterfly and ladybird are included as the most beautiful insect. It is the best form we can use for such as. Second sentence. Insects, for example, butterfly and ladybird are included as the most beautiful insects. This is the wrong. Third sentence. Insects are included as the most beautiful insects. For example, butterfly and ladybird. This is such a big mistake and we cannot use it. It will be so weird if you use this kind of sentence. From the three examples above, we can see that the first sentence cannot use for example in it. Instead, the sentence requires such as in this sentence. Alright, that's all from me. I hope that this video is really useful for you. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to EEC's YouTube channel. See you in the future.